What's the evidence that every little good matters? It's a surah that everybody knows. See if you can do istinbat, to pull from the Quran. I promise you, you read this surah 100 times, 1,000 times in 1 year. You read the same surah. But besides the big guys, let the kids get it first. If they can't get it, then tell you, we get the big guys before we start. Yes?
Surah Al-Fatiha.
طيب. It's not quite what I was going for, but there's one ayah. There's two ayahs actually. You say it 1,000 times in 1 year.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is one.
MashaAllah, that's an ayah that you say 1,000 times. But the ayah that I'm talking about to show us that every little bit counts. Every little bit counts. Yalla, yalla. Parents, teach your kids, please. Teach your kids how to pull from the Quran. Yalla, they should know this. They say it 1,000 times. When I say it, you're going to be like, oh, I know it. Yalla, okay, parents' turn. The kids, they couldn't do it. Tell us, parents. What's the evidence that every little bit of good counts? There are a number of ayats, but the one in Juz Amma, yalla, I put in Juz Amma, you say it 1,000 times, you hear it 1,000 times a year. Sisters, go ahead. Yes, what's the ayah I'm referring to?
The last time.
فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ. Right? فَمَنْ إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ زِلْزَالَهَا. Allah said at the end of it, فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ. Whoever does the atom's weight of good will see it. That means you come up a little bit more, you're going to see that on the Day of Judgment. That's good. Right? You said one extra tasbihah, one extra subhanallah, one extra Allahu Akbar. You smiled at somebody. You just looked at somebody with a nice bright face and made them feel comfortable. Any little bit of good, even the atom's weight, you will see it. And then whoever does the atom's weight of evil will also see it. See, so that's the point, evidence that every little bit counts. Whatever you can do to get closer to Allah, whatever I can do, then we should do it. Then let's start. Bismillah, alhamdulillah. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. We're going to discuss now the sun rising from its place of setting. Now, I'm not going to go over what the solar system looks like and so forth, the difference between the different theories and solar systems and so forth, because I don't know that much about physics and the laws of gravity and all of that, so I'm not going to get into that argument. But just as you see the sun coming up from the east, it will come up from the west. So whatever needs to take place in space will happen so that the sun can come up from the west. Whatever that is going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen to make it turn, but I do know Allah says, كُلٌّ فِي فَلَكٍ يَسْبَحُونَ. Good job. Every single celestial body, it's in its own orbit, swimming. It's swimming in its own orbit. So everything has its own motion in space. Every planet has its own motion. The sun has its own motion in space. So, there will be some movement, a sudden movement and change in the movement of the stars and the planets. The people in the morning time will expect the sun to rise from the east and it will rise from the west. You know, the first time I studied this, I was, I would say 15. And I studied it the night before. I was watching the DVD about, the signs of the last day or something. And I woke up in the morning and I was, after Fajr, I was making wudu, getting ready for school. And suddenly I saw the sun rising from the opposite direction. You know how in the movies the monster comes out or something like that, the bad man, the person does like this? That's what I did. I saw it sparkling and I'm like, no way. I was doing really slow like this. Then when I finally saw it, it was the reflection of the sun in the mirror and the building next to, oh man. But I was scared. So the sun will rise from where it sets. Abraham, our prophet, the father of Ishmael and Isaac, he argued with a king one day. And he argued with the king not because he wanted to pick a fight, but this king thought that he could argue about God to Abraham just because God gave him mulk, which is God gave him a kingdom, kingship. And it could have been Nimrod, the king Nimrod, or other than him. Wallahu a'lam. The Mufassirun say it's Nimrod. Those who explain the Quran say that it was Nimrod or Nimrod. That's why a person says you're a Nimrod, means you're not so smart. Because he was defeated by Abraham in this argument. Abraham said to Nimrod or Nimrod, my Lord is the one who gives life and causes death. Nimrod said, or Nimrod said, I too give life and cause death. And he would, how would he explain that? He would, yes, tell me, Habib.
He ordered his men to take a slave, and then and then he took 2 slaves, and he killed one, and he let the other one live.
Exactly. So there's some report of that. He took a free man that had no wrong, done nothing, no crime or anything, and he killed him. Then he took a slave man who was destined or determined to be crucified, killed for a sin that he committed or put to death, and he set him free. So he said, this person I took his life, and this person I gave life. See, I do the same thing. So Abraham said, my Lord brings the sun from the east. Then why don't you bring it from the west? Meaning my Lord is the one who causes the sun to rise from the east. Why don't you bring it from the west? And he was defeated by that argument. Nimrod was defeated by that argument. Allah said, هل ينظرون إلا أن تأتيهم الملائكة أو يأتي ربك أو يأتي بعض آيات ربك. Are they waiting for anything other than the angels to come? Or perhaps they're waiting for your Lord to present himself. Or perhaps they're waiting for some of the signs of your Lord to come about. On the day when some of the signs of your Lord come about, no faith will be of benefit to anyone if they had not believed before those signs, or they had not done good to verify their belief. Allah said to the Prophet, tell them, meaning the rejectors, and he's particularly talking about Quraysh, which is his tribe that disbelieved in him. Tell them, he's talking to them directly, and then of course anyone who fits their shoes thereafter. Tell them, wait, because we are too waiting. In this ayah, Allah said, what are they waiting for? Allah gives you the verses from the Quran. He gives you the miracles in the Quran. He explains it to you and I, again and again and again and again and again. And he diversifies the signs. He doesn't just speak about it in one way. He speaks about it in 1,000 ways. Then Allah said, what are you waiting for? Why haven't you believed yet? Why haven't you accepted it yet? Allah said, are you waiting for the angels to come? Or are you waiting for your Lord to present himself, which is the day of judgment? Or are you waiting for some of the signs of God to manifest itself? He said, on the day when some of the signs of God manifest itself, no one will benefit from their faith then. If they had not believed before that sign, or had done deeds that verified their belief. Allah said, tell them, wait, because we are too waiting. So one of those signs is this sun rising from the west. Why? Why is this such a big deal? Sun rising from the west. Why is it that when this happens, it doesn't benefit you to believe if you had not believed already? Why? Tell me why. Yep. Put your thinking khimars, hijabs on, and you're thinking kufis. Think about it. Why? Why do you think it doesn't benefit a person to believe if they had not believed before this point? Tell me. Yes, sir.
Because it will be illogical and it will be evidence to a great deity that exists that will cause it. So everyone will know there's somebody who's controlling everything.
I like that answer. Because you can't, people, how are you going to explain that when it happens? How are you going to explain it? We can hardly explain the current solar system, right? Or whatever's going with the sun and the moon. We can hardly explain that. We have so many theories and so forth. So when that happens, it's going to be proof, evidence that God is in control. And just as He set it on its course in the first place, the sun, He will set it on a different one. And most of belief is dependent upon what? Most of your faith is dependent upon what you cannot see. God Himself, you cannot see Him in this world. You will see Him on the Day of Judgment. The angels, you cannot see them. The genies, you cannot see them. You weren't there with Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the Prophet. You weren't there with Jesus alayhi salatu wasalam. You weren't there with Moses alayhi salatu wasalam. You weren't there with Abraham alayhi salatu wasalam. You weren't there with Noah. So it's called all unseen. You're putting your faith in something that God is telling you. So when you see it, then what's the point? Belief. What's the point now? You saw it already. Somebody says, you know what? I'll believe when God talks to me Himself. What's the point in faith? If God speaks to you directly, just so you can believe, what's the point in all of us believing without having Him spoken to us? Unfortunately, that's an expression of arrogance. I'll believe when I see it. Okay, you'll see it. A person says, I'll believe when I see it. Well, you will see the end of that belief. And you will see the conclusion of such a belief without a doubt. And you'll wish you had the chance to come back, but no one will be given the chance to come back once they've left. Abu Hurairah, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, there are three things that when they appear, when they happen, it will do no good to a person to believe if they had not believed before. It won't benefit them. It says, no, it will not do any good to them, nor if they had not believed before, or they had earned good by performing good deeds through faith. He said, the rising of the sun from its setting, which is the west, the Dajjal, which is the Antichrist, and the beast of the earth. And this is Prophet Muhammad letting us know that once these things happen, you have to have believed beforehand. You remember Fir'aun. Did Fir'aun believe?
At the very end.
Good job. That's a trick question. Good job. He got it. He said, and you all said it, he believed when? At the end. At the end. Did Pharaoh believe soon as the water touched him?
No.
No. When did he believe? When he was finally being overtaken by drowning. Not when he started to drown. And he was like last bit of energy of whatever someone would use to say something. Right before death, or as the soul is about to be pulled out. He waited to that moment to say, I believe in the one that the Israelites believe in, meaning God, and I am of the Muslims. I am of those who have submitted to God. And God responded to him, Al-an, now you believe? Now, Pharaoh, you wait all the way to this moment? So as that wasn't accepted from the Pharaoh, it won't be accepted from anyone who does not believe before the sun rises from the west. Abu Hurairah said also, the Prophet ﷺ said, the hour will not begin until, and he mentioned, saying the sun rises from its place of setting. When it rises, the people will see it. When they see it, they will all believe. But that time, it will do no good to a person to believe then if they had not believed before or earned good deeds through their faith before then. He then said, the hour will begin. And Allah knows best if He's talking about the sun rising from the west as the hour, referring to it, or He's referring to the hour, the trumpet being blown itself. Wallahu a'lam. I'm not sure. He says, the hour will begin when two men have spread a garment between them. But they will neither be able to sell it, one will not be able to sell it to the other, nor will the other be able to buy it. And they won't be able to fold it before the hour starts. Could you imagine? You're in the grocery store. And you take the bananas and you put them on the scale to weigh them. And you will not be able to pull them off of the scale before the hour begins. And again, it could be referring to the sun rising from the west, or the hour being established, the final day, the day of judgment establishing. And then he continued saying that the hour will begin when a man has milked his she-camel, and then he had taken away the milk, but he won't be able to drink it. He was milking the she-camel, he took the milk away, and before he's able to drink it, the hour will begin. The last day will begin. The day of judgment will begin. He then said, the hour will begin when a man is repairing a throne, but he will not be able to give his animals water from it, which is something that they used to give the cattle some water. He will be repairing it, fixing it, but he won't get the opportunity to put water in it and give it any of the water to his animals. And he said, and the hour will begin when a man has raised a morsel of food to his mouth and he won't be able to eat it. So it doesn't matter how good that food looked just a couple seconds ago and how hungry you may have been. You lift that food to your mouth, and before it reaches, the hour has begun. And of course, you don't care anything about the food anymore. Another narration, Abu Dhar said, the Prophet ﷺ said, do you know where the sun goes? This means that the Prophet is letting us know that the sun itself is moving. How so? Allah knows. They said, Allah and His Messenger know best. He said, it runs along its course until it reaches its resting place beneath the throne, where it is prostrate. It falls prostrate, meaning it submits to God in prostration. And it will remain in that state until God tells it, rise and go back the way you came. It means the sun is moving. So as it prostrates, as it goes to its lowest point, which is prostration, God will tell it to continue to move in whatever movement it's moving right now. Then he said, it runs its course until it reaches its resting place. And he said, beneath the throne, which is in this vast universe, everything is beneath Allah's arsh. Yes? It will reach its resting place and it will fall prostrate. It will be in prostration, submitting to God. And then God will tell it, Allah will tell it to rise and go back from which it came. So continue to run its course. Then he said, then in the morning it will rise from its place of rising as usual until it runs its course. And he said, people will not notice anything unusual until it reaches its resting place beneath the throne, meaning in this vast universe. And it will be said to it, go and rise from the place where you sat. So in the morning, instead of it rising from the east, it will rise from the west. Just that simple. Then he said, do you know when that day will be? He said, that will be when no good deed or no good will it be for a person to believe if they had not believed before, or earned good by performing good deeds through faith. It will not benefit them. So, is it decent? Does it make sense that we do good deeds? Because we do understand that there will be a day when good deeds will not be accepted. in faith if we had not believed in God before as the one and only Creator, and therefore the only one being deserving of worship. If we had not believed in Him in that way, then it won't benefit us to believe after these signs. Abdullah ibn Amr said, the Prophet ﷺ said, of the signs of the Dajjal's appearance will be the rising of the sun from its place of setting and the beast coming out to the people in the forenoon, which is before noon. Whichever one of them appears first, the other one will follow. But you might say, how can we understand this with the other ahadith, the other narrations, that the Dajjal comes before the sun and the beast? This lets us know, as Ibn Hajar said, that the appearance of the Dajjal or the Antichrist will be first, and that will mark that major sign of the Day of Judgment. Because you all know the Antichrist, as we explained before, he will be here for 40 days. The first day is like a year. The second day is like a month. The third day is like a week. And the rest of the 37 days will be normal, 37 days. He will go in every town in the world possible except Mecca and Medina. He will not be able to enter. What will be prohibiting him from entering Mecca and Medina? The angels. Then they will drive him where? Where will they direct him to? Syria. And in Damascus, who will descend from the heavens? Isa, Jesus, the son of Mary. And he will meet the Dajjal, the Antichrist, where? Where? Al-Aqsa. But where particularly? Jerusalem. Where? Starts with Lam. Al. Starts with Al. Lud. Babu Lud. He will meet him at a gate or a town called Lud. Lud is there. L-O-D. Look up. L-O-D. That's where he will meet the Antichrist. When the Antichrist sees him, he will begin to dissolve, and Jesus will chase him down until not only does he strike him with his spear, but he shows the people the blood of the Dajjal to prove to the people that this creature is not God, which is the Dajjal. He is not God, and here I've defeated him. And it also proves to the people that Jesus is also not God, also a human being, right? And then Gog and Magog will come out from their hiding, as we have already studied. So the Dajjal will come, Jesus will descend, and after he passes and Gog and Magog go, the sun will rise from its place of setting. And the scholars will consider the beast, that perhaps the beast will come right after the sun rises from its place of setting. Then the beast emerges and it starts to talk to people. And it brands people as believer and non-believer, as faithful and unfaithful. And then people will start to call on each other by that recognition. You'll be able to see that a person is a believer because he's been marked by the beast with the mark of a believer. And the other one will be marked with the mark of a disbeliever, so they'll call each other just like that. Hey believer, hey disbeliever. And that will, the belief of anyone after that who that had not believed before will not benefit them. Abdullah ibn Amr narrated that the first of the signs will be the rising of the sun from its place of setting and the emergence of the beast. Whichever of the two comes, then the other one is directly after. Either the beast comes first or the sun rises from its place of setting. So shouldn't we hasten? Shouldn't we be ready to do good deeds? Ready? Ready? Like ready. On go. You got to be on go. You know, when you're driving the car and you stop at the stop light, red light, and all you're doing is waiting for what? The green light. You even start inching up just a little bit. Correct? You all know, you're drivers, right? We take our foot off the gas and we start rolling a little bit because we're anticipating the green light. So just as you're hastening to go, I and you all should be hastening to do good deeds. And we should teach it to our kids. We should do what? Teach it to our kids. Is that possible? Okay. Is that possible? Well, we can teach it to our kids. It was narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, all of you hasten to do good deeds before 6 things happen. He said, the rising of the sun from its place of setting, the smoke, the Antichrist, the beast, your death, the death of one of you, or the day of resurrection. 6 things. He said, hurry up and do all the good deeds you can. And be hasty and do it. Doesn't mean you pray like a crow. Doesn't mean you pray like a chicken. You know the chicken does like this? That's not haste. That's not what we're talking about when you rush through the prayer. No. But you don't delay it. You get that first opportunity you get, you go to the masjid. First opportunity you get, you smile on someone's face. The first opportunity you get, you go and buy some food for someone. Or go visit the sick. Or be kind to your neighbor and help them out. The first opportunity you get, you say salam to your mother. Send her a text. Tell her I love you. Or your father. First opportunity you get, you play with your kids. Right? Ask them about their schoolwork. Ask them about homework. You know? Ask them about things they might be going through. First opportunity you get, you do all the good deeds that you can, as I should do all the good deeds that I can. First opportunity. That's what it means, to hasten to do good deeds. Because either the sun is going to rise from its place of setting, the smoke will appear, the Antichrist will appear, the beast will emerge, your death will reach you, or the day of judgment will begin. So either of those, we have to be on urgency. Everything is urgent. We got to get it done, and we got to get good deeds done now. That is the sun rising from the west. Any questions before we go on to the fire? Questions. Comments? Sisters, questions, comments?
So the question regarding Pharaoh's accepting at the very last moment.
Yes.
We have a notion like if you say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah before you die, you are basically like
You're saved.
something like that. So
Right.
can we does that contradict that particular notion?
Good question. Our brother asked, we have been taught in Islam that if you say the testimony of faith, which is La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, that there is no God that actually exists beside God himself, which is Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. If you say that before you die, you're going to paradise. Correct? That's generally speaking. But Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in another hadith, "Ma lam yugharghir." That will be accepted from a person as long as they are not now choking off of death. Yugharghir, yani if you've witnessed someone's death, the sound that they are making, called gharghara, as they are dying, as long as you don't reach that point, the sound of that death actually happening, and the soul is being pulled out of your chest, pulled from your body all the way out, and that's gharghara, where you're in and out, you're dying at that moment, literally. As long as you have not reached that stage, your repentance will be accepted. So Fir'aun waited until that moment. Death had overcome him. He's dying, no doubt about it, and he wants to now save. You see what I'm saying? So that's too late. The Pharaoh, he waited too long. And he knew better. That's the sad part. He knew better. He knew exactly what Moses was teaching him. He saw the signs and the miracles, and it was clear as day. But because of his arrogance, he rejected it.
So one more question.
Yes, sir.
So the non-believers, the Christians or Jews, people of the book,
Yes,
they live their lives and they do good.
that's right.
They do charity, they're nice, they're kind.
That's right.
They believe in, of course, they're mushrikeen.
Right. Our brother asked, he said, the Jews and the Christians, people of the book, and people of other faiths, they live their lives doing good deeds. Right? What is to happen to them? Is that what you're asking? Allah mentioned the good deeds of those who reject Muhammad. Those who reject Muhammad are generally called disbelievers. Why? Not because they don't believe in God. No, they believe in God. But you rejected a messenger of God. And if you reject Moses, you've rejected all of them. And if you reject Jesus, then you've rejected all of them. If you reject Muhammad, then you've rejected all of the messengers. You can't have one without the other because they all came from God. Now, if you reject the false prophets that came after Prophet Muhammad, then that's what you're supposed to do, because Prophet Muhammad said, I am the last prophet. Right? So, and Allah said in the Quran that He is the last prophet. There is no prophet after Him whatsoever. So Allah referred to their deeds as whatever good deeds that they do will be haba'an manthura. It will be like ashes blown in the wind. Now He did mention, Allah mentioned in the Quran, and He showed us that the disbeliever, the one who rejects Muhammad, will benefit from their good deeds in this world. They will have benefit from their good deeds in this world. For example, Abu Talib radiyallahu anhu, so Abu Talib didn't accept Islam. I'm thinking of Ali ibn Abi Talib and saying radiyallahu anhu after him. Abu Talib, the uncle of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, will be affected by the shafa'ah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He will be affected by the intercession of the Prophet. That he will only receive the lightest punishment in hell. And the reason why Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, interceded for his uncle, because he loved him, and his uncle supported the Prophet. So the effect of that support of the Prophet will get him the least punishment in hell. The least punishment. And Prophet Muhammad said that the least punishment in hell is 2 sparks or 2 coals that is underneath his shoes. Because of the heat of the coals underneath his shoes, his brains will boil inside of his head. And that is the least punishment in hell. But that's what Abu Talib will have. He benefited from the shafa'ah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the intercession of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Therefore, the ones who reject faith and reject the Prophet Muhammad as the Prophet, or reject any other Prophet for that matter, or associate with God another associate, a deity, a sub-deity, a compartmentalization of God to make him divided into various posts or compartments. This is all association with God. If a person does that, or disbelieves in the Prophet, or both, then it doesn't matter what good deeds they do, it will not benefit them on the day of judgment. Now you might say, well, what if this person didn't have a fair chance? If that person didn't have a fair chance, for example, that person was insane their whole life, or in a coma their whole life until they died, or never received a message, lived on an island somewhere, never even heard of electricity, saw planes flying in the sky and thought they were really big birds, for example. No clue about revelation and prophet, nothing. That person and those people will be tested on the day of judgment. If they listen to God's command, they will enter paradise. If they disobey God, they will enter the fire. That's just simple as that. So those people who do good deeds, the people of the book, and others that are close to you, that are kind to you, that smile at you, that help you, please pray for them. And care whether or not they're guided. Care about it. Because Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was rahmatun lil alameen. He was a mercy to all of the worlds. And Allah said about him sallallahu alayhi, He praised him, لَعَلَّكَ بَاخِعٌ نَفْسَكَ عَلَى آثَارِهِمْ إِن لَمْ يُؤْمِنُوا بِهَذَا الْحَدِيثِ أَسَفًا. Out of sorrow for their steps, meaning away from you, you almost destroy yourself. Muhammad, you almost destroy yourself out of what? Sorrow, out of worry for them, because they refuse to follow this Quran. And Allah says, لَعَلَّكَ بَاخِعٌ نَفْسَكَ أَلَّا يَكُونُوا مُؤْمِنِينَ. Perhaps, Muhammad, you almost drive yourself to your own demise just because they don't believe. Prophet Muhammad said, أَنَا آخِذٌ بِحُجَجِكُمْ كَمَا قَالَ. I'm holding on to your waistbands, your belts. I'm holding on to you all. Basically trying to keep you from the fire. You know the moths? Are the moths? Those flying animals that follow light? And if you make a campfire, they fall into the fire? Prophet Muhammad said, the example of me and you all is like a man who struck a fire and the insects started to dive into the fire. So he's trying to save them from the fire. And Prophet Muhammad said, I'm holding on to your belts. If he's holding on to your belt, if I grab you by your belt, most likely you're not going anywhere, right? That's the best place I can hold you from, to keep you with me. He said, I'm holding on to you all, but you all insist upon falling into the fire. You come out of my hands and you fall in anyway. That's the effort of the Prophet. We Muslims, we got to get something together. We got to get something straight. We need to be at the service of everyone who speaks, hears, sees, to get them to at least understand, to explain to them our perspective, what Islam is, and what the fact that we believe that God is the only deity that actually exists, and that Muhammad is his messenger. We got to work a lot harder. And those people that are driving beside you in the car, of their different backgrounds and different skin colors, you and I should be worried for their well-being. So though they do not benefit from their good deeds here or hereafter, we should still be what? Worried and concerned and struggle for their guidance as much as possible. Any more questions?
Yeah, one here.
Go ahead.
You're trying to tell us to stop making dua, Allahumma Rabbul Sunnah al Qawm al-Kafirin. There is, a lot of disbelievers around the world, every places. They have no conscience of Islam to begin with. I mean, those people, whatever, I know Allah is who give them the guide. Understand this. But they don't even want to hear you. They don't even want to say about your belief. How can you deal with these people?
Say the first part of your question so I understand the context.
Okay. Well, we said make dua.
Yeah.
Allahumma Rabbul Sunnah al Qawm al-Kafirin,
Right.
al-Qawm al-Zalimin, al-Qawm al-Fasiqin, all of this.
Right, so I think I get it now. طيب. So we usually make dua. God grant us victory over those who reject faith. God grant us victory over those who insist upon indecency and ill conduct. Grant us victory over them. What does that mean? Does it mean you hate your neighbors? What about the ones who are so, they don't even care. They want to hear you. They want to listen to you. They want to be so evil to you. They want to call your names and be racist. Right? What about those people? A disbeliever is of different ranks. Not all disbelievers are the same. Some disbelievers are very kind, very nice. They will help you. Like Abu Talib helped his nephew. He was still a disbeliever, but he still supported his nephew and protected his nephew with his own life. So he benefited, because of that, he benefited from the intercession of the Prophet. And Allah told us that Allah does not prohibit us from dealing in a beautiful, wonderful, truthful manner with people who behave in that way with us, the kind ones that do not share our faith. We can deal with them with honor, respect. We can deal with them with wafat, which is to fulfill our duties to them, right? To be kind to them and so forth. But the kafir that you're talking about, the disbeliever that you're talking about, that we need to have victory over, is the one who oppresses us and uses tyranny against us. It can be here or in Burma. Right? It can be here or Central African Republic. It can be here or Palestine. But they're using tyranny and strategies of tyranny to murder, massacre, and destroy believers. Those are the ones you call the aggressive disbelievers, and those are the ones that you're saying, oh Allah, give us victory over them. You're not necessarily talking about the one who is kind to you, who is nice to you, who gives you food and you give them food. You get what I'm saying? There's two different types of disbelievers. But all we can do, as Allah said, وَجَادِلْهُمْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. Even when you argue with them, debate with them in the best manner possible. Right? So there is a such thing as a person who's going to come to you respectfully and say, hey, let's talk about your faith, let's talk about my faith. Do you talk? He disagrees with you, you disagree with him or her, and so forth, and then you go on about your day. They understood at least what you believe, and you understood what they believe. That's different. But now the one that wants to come against you and fight against you and make it hard for you and oppress you and call your names and so forth, that's a different type. So you have to deal with, people who do not share your faith. You have to deal with them according to the way that they present themselves. It's the base form of our dealing with anybody is with ihsan, with excellence, not with wafa, not even repaying them their good. To deal with anybody and everybody with what? Excellence. That means no matter what anyone does, you try your best to be excellent, to excel. But there is a such thing as those who insist upon tyranny and so on and so forth, and they have another mode of conduct, that is necessary. So those are the ones that we ask Allah to give us victory over, and not to allow them to continue to be, express their tyranny on the believers. So there will be a fire that will gather everybody to their place of gathering. Now, the place of gathering is where? Where will we be gathered to be resurrected from? Arafat, Sham, Syria, Levant, the Levant, Syria, Palestine, Jordan, Lebanon, that's all the greater Syria. We will be gathered there. Hudayfa ibn Usayd al-Ghifari said that the Prophet ﷺ looked out over us while we were talking and said, "What are you talking about?" They said, "We are talking about the hour." He then said, "It will never come until you see signs." And he mentioned the smoke, the Dajjal, which is the Antichrist, the beast, the rising of the sun from its place of setting, the descent of Jesus, the son of Mary, Ya'juj and Ma'juj, which is Gog and Magog, and 3 landslides. One in the east, one in the west, and one in the Arabian Peninsula. And the last of that will be a fire that will come from Yemen, and it will drive everyone, meaning in that area, to their place of gathering, which is Greater Syria, that area, or the Holy Land, or the Blessed Land, as Allah refers to it. Yes, sir?
So basically, there are no signs and the trumpet just blows.
No, these are the signs.
Possible, or do there have to be signs?
No, it has to be signs.
Okay.
These signs are leading up to it. It's getting people ready.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
Prophet Muhammad also said, "And a fire will emerge from the furthest part of Aden and drive the people." I'm going to explain what the fire is going to do. Abdullah ibn Umar said that the Prophet ﷺ said, "A fire will emerge before the Day of Judgment from the sea of Hadramaut, or from Hadramaut, which is typically known as southern Yemen. And it will gather all of the people." They said, "What do you instruct us to do, O Messenger of Allah?" He said, "I advise you to go to Syria," which is the greater Syria, not the small version of Syria today. All of those surrounding lands are considered Greater Syria, or Sham, as we used to call it. Anas said, when Abdullah ibn Salam heard that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ had come to Medina, he came to him, meaning Abdullah ibn Salam came to Prophet Muhammad, and he said, "I'm going to ask you about 3 things which no one knows except a prophet." Now Abdullah ibn Salam, what was his religion?
Judaism.
He was a Jew. He was not only a Jewish man, what they call Judaism, but he was a rabbi, he was a scholar amongst them. So when Muhammad came to Medina, he wanted to test him to see if he's a prophet. So he said, "I'm going to ask you 3 things that no one knows unless they're a prophet." So he said, "What is the first sign of the hour?" Meaning the first sign of its beginning. He said, "What is the first food that the people of paradise will eat? And how is it that a child may resemble either his father or the uncles of his mother? How is it that the child resemblance may be here or there?" The Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, "Jibreel has just informed me. Gabriel has just informed me." This is an evidence that not only is the Quran revelation, but even the Sunnah, the way of the Prophet, or the teachings of the Prophet, is revelation. Because when he said, "Gabriel just informed me," he didn't start reading Quran. He's going to give him the answer to his questions. That means that the sunnah has an authority. If it's authentic sunnah, authentic way of the Prophet, then it has an authority and it should be followed. He said, Gabriel just informed me just now that, he said, Gabriel just informed me about these matters. And Abdullah ibn Salam said, he is the enemy of the Jews among the angels. That was their belief. And I don't know if they still believe that Gabriel is the enemy. Amongst the angels, Gabriel is the enemy of the Jews. I don't know the logic behind that. I don't recall it right now. So then the Messenger of Allah said, the first sign of the hour, meaning the beginning of the hour, is a fire that will gather the people together from east to west. He's going to explain what the fire does. He said the first food of the people of paradise will be the qadid, which is an extra lobe of the fish liver. You take the fish liver, there's a little lobe on there that's called the qadid. That's what the people of the paradise will eat first. And then he said, as for a child resembling one parent or another, he said, when a man is with his wife, and likewise the wife is with her husband, whichever of the fluids of the two precedes the other, then if it's the woman that precedes the man, or the man's fluids that precedes the woman's fluids, it will take the child will take the resemblance of that person. That will be dominant. Whatever of the two fluids is that precedes the other. Then Abdullah said, I bear witness that you are the messenger of Allah. So Abdullah, upon hearing this, accepted Islam. This Jewish man, Jewish rabbi, accepted Islam. And he wasn't the only one. Many of the Jewish rabbis of Medina accepted Islam, and then others, of course, rejected and so forth. How will the fire gather people? Abu Hurairah said that the Prophet ﷺ said, the people will be gathered in 3 groups, hoping for paradise and fearing the hellfire. 2 people will be on a camel, 3 people will be on another camel, and 10 people on another camel. Meaning these animals will be carrying them to Sham, to Syria, greater Syria. The rest of them will be gathered by a fire which will stay with them when they stop for the night, and it will rest with them when they take a rest, and will be with them in the morning, in the evening. So as this fire is spreading, if you can see, may Allah save the people of California and surrounding areas from the wildfires and from the reoccurring of these wildfires. I ask that Allah save them from that, because it's tough, it's difficult. We wish not that they be, or anyone be, receiving any affliction in this world. We ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save them and save us all from natural disasters. The fire is moving and you have nothing to do. You can't stop it. Go ahead, use water. It's not going to work. They tried it. Right? Eventually water runs out. If there's a drought and the wildfire sparks, that's it. And it comes in and destroys house after house after house after field after house after building. So imagine that. That's what's going to be gathering people. The only difference is when they stop, the fire will stop. Right there. And when they get up and go, it will keep following them and pushing them towards Sham, which is greater Syria. So the fire is not intended to burn the people or hurt the people at all. It's just moving them. طيب. Abu Dharr radiallahu anhu said that the people will be gathered on the day of resurrection in 3 groups. Some people will be fed and clothed, having food and clothing. Others will be riding, and others will be walking and running. And others will be dragged on their faces by the angels. One of them said, these 2 groups we know. We understand 2 of them, but the third one, what do you mean walking and running? The Prophet ﷺ said that Allah will cause their mounts, which is what they get on their saddles, to contract diseases. Meaning there will be a disease that will eat this mount of theirs until no mounts are left. To such an extent that a man who had a very nice garden, a very rich man, will give it up in return for a week-old camel with a small saddle. And he won't be able to find a single one. So these people will be walking and running towards Asham as the fire is gathering them. Something that they can see. So this is the last of the major signs of the Day of Judgment. The fire coming out from Hadramaut and pushing the people towards Ash-Sham. You see the details that we have for us to understand and to follow? And these details, Allah knows best if they exist with any other group of people. And not only are these details there, but we know, the believers we know, Muslims believe in Muhammad, and we know how many gray hairs he had between his beard and his head. We know what would make him smile. We know what would make him laugh. We know what would make him cry. We know how he relieved himself from the restroom. And we know how he felt about his kids. We know everything about our Prophet. We know how he slept. We know what he did when he woke up frightened from sleep. We know what he did when he saw a storm approaching and he paced back and forth from the house and inside the house and outside. We know what his gait was, how he walked. We know what his build was. We know what his favorite foods were. You understand? We know everything about this prophet. And in fact, we don't find a single individual that history has preserved the life of like Muhammad's life has been preserved. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We need to get closer to this man. Understand his way. Practice his conduct. And spread his message. Yes? Any more questions before we close out? Yes, sir.
What were his favorite food?
Pardon?
What were his favorite food?
His favorite food? Look it up. Tell me about it. Yes, homework. Yalla, if you guys don't know, it's there. Go find what his favorite food was. Find out how many gray hairs he had between his head and his beard. Those same gray hairs that he said, شَيَّبَتْنِي هُودْ وَأَخَوَاتُهَا. He said, Surah Hud and the surah surrounding it have made me gray. When you become gray, what is that usually indicative of? What does that indicate? Fear and stress. So Hud, Surah Hud, Allah revved up the threat to Quraysh as if He's going to destroy them. And Muhammad did not want his people to be destroyed. So if Muhammad didn't want his people to be destroyed, what is it with Muslims that think that, we should want people to be destroyed? We should want people to be taken out by a natural disaster. No, that's not Muhammad. That's not his way. He was worried that Quraysh should be destroyed, and he said, Hud and the surahs around it caused me to go gray. Find out how many gray hairs he had in his beard and his hair. Find out what his favorite food was. Find out what his bed was like. Certainly wasn't like our beds. Find out what his bed was like, sallallahu alayhi. Find out what one of his homes were like. I want you to find that out. All of this is available knowledge for us. Find it out. Get to know your prophet so that you can love him more and spread his message with more fervence or more diligence. Any more questions? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Dates were his favorite food.
Dates were his favorite? Well, actually, dates were his staple food. You know, staple food means that food that is just around. It just happens to be around. But that wasn't his favorite food. Good try. Yes, sir.
You said the Prophet Muhammad was asked 3 questions by the Jewish rabbi.
Yes, he was asked 3 questions by the Jewish rabbi.
That
yes.
only a prophet would know the answer.
That only a prophet would know the answers.
How did he know the answer?
How did he know that the prophet would know the answer?
No. How did he know that those were the answers?
Because he was a scholar of the Jewish faith. He was a scholar. You might say, well, how did he know? I don't know if he knew the answer or he just made up these 3 questions and said only a prophet would know these. I don't know. I'm not sure. So I don't know at all if he knew the answers or not. Abdullah ibn Salam. That's a good question, though. I'm going to look that up, inshallah. Yes, sir.
The Quran, everyone know that it's real, but how do people know that it was written? How do you know some random person just didn't write it and started spreading it?
That's a good question. That's a good question. How do you know that the Quran is not written by some random person that wrote it and started spreading it? You have to read it. Remember the young man asked me last week, he was sitting there, And he said, Sheikh, how do we know if the Quran is correct? Or Islam is the right religion? I said, what? Read the Quran. The Quran, Allah says that the Quran is the evidence itself. When you read it, you'll see that the people said, oh, Muhammad was taught by a Christian. They say that. They say, oh, Muhammad is possessed by a jinn, spirit. They say, oh, Muhammad is a magician. Allah mentions all of these excuses in the Quran, and God, Allah, refutes them, debunks them one by one. Right? But you have to read the Quran to come up to those answers, right? I want you to read it. So try your best, read the Quran, I'm talking about reading the language that you understand. So please, most of you speak English, so please read the English, or if you prefer Urdu or whatever language you prefer, but read the translation so you come across the answers to these questions. And you will know by the Quran, it speaks for itself. So read it and you will understand. Yes, sir.
The Quran was collected after the death of the Prophet ﷺ. Jam' al-Quran, صح? So how do we know the order? Like, why did they bring Surah Al-Fatiha the first one?
Good question.
Surah Al-Nas the last one.
Good job. So he said that the Quran was compiled after the death of the Prophet. So how do we know the order? The reality is the Quran was compiled in the heart of the Prophet ﷺ before on paper. But he also had that paper form. He had that book form recorded, and it was in Hafsa's house. It was in Hafsa's house. But people memorized the Quran from back to front. So how did it get in the order that we have it? Gabriel, the angel, used to teach Prophet Muhammad the Quran once every Ramadan. He would go over it with him in the order, Al-Fatiha to, An-Nas. And the year that he died, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Gabriel went over the Quran twice with him to make sure he got it, to make sure he has it and the order. And then he, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, taught the Sahaba who taught others until it trickled down to me and you. What you have in the book is what was revealed to Prophet Muhammad. Yes, very good question. Yes, sir.
His favorite food was figs.
No. Hey, why do you keep asking this question? MashaAllah. You want to be the main one. He's going to get the answer. It's not figs. Thank you. Find his favorite food, sallallahu alayhi. Yes, sir.
I think the favorite food of the Prophet is like lamb.
Isn't it there?
And now we're going to look, we're shooting at this one. Everyone wants to know it. Good job. These are really good tries. Please look it up. Yo, look it up. Read the seerah of the Prophet. You can find it easily, mashallah. Google is easy. What's the favorite food of the Prophet? And then look up the sources too. Make sure it's verified information. Yeah, so it's time for that. And we'll take one more question just for the beauty of it. One more. If you have any sisters, I'm sorry. Yes, go. I'm sorry I couldn't see you. I apologize. Ya Allah. Yes, go ahead. Hey, you looked it up. Good job. That's right. That's what you're supposed to do. Good job. Look it up. So inshallah, everyone look that up and find out the hairs of the Prophet. Find out the gait, how he walked. Find out how he slept. Right? And so forth. And maybe you'll fall in love with him all over again and be more encouraged to follow his way. And thereby more encouraged to spread his message. Wa sallallahu wa sallama ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Jazakumullah khairan.